Caesars used to be the city's crown. Today it's a warning light. You remember the marble halls, the big fights, the myth of the high roller who could buy a weekend of legend just by walking in. Caesars wasn't a hotel. It was the stage where Vegas felt bigger than real life. Now the shine is cracking. S&P 500 tossed Caesars off the list. Las Vegas revenue slipped about 3.7%. Roughly 27,000 room nights vanished in one quarter, and the city took a punch. June visitors fell 11% year over year. That isn't noise, that is demand leaking out the side door. Here's the plan. 7 reasons the palace is wobbling, what those numbers mean on the floor, and why coupons and flash sales can't fix a value problem. If you've felt the room colder lately, you're not imagining it. Let's start with the eviction. Number 1, the index eviction. Wall Street doesn't kick you out for a bad Tuesday. When you are in the S&P 500, money flows in by default. Index funds buy you without thinking. Analysts show up. Borrowing feels cheaper. That label is oxygen. Lose it, and you move to the small cap bench. Fewer passive dollars, less love from funds, more work to raise cash. The optics say you shrank. Lenders see risk first and story second. Before, the stock had that big league halo. Now it wears a question mark. Price slides. Market cap slips. The phone calls change. Debt costs creep higher. The same project list that felt bold last year now feels heavy. Hotel refreshes can wait. Poker room upgrades can wait. You start cutting the little things guests feel right away and pretending they will not notice. Nate has been a host for 10 years. He lives in the middle of this. When the stock tanks, so do comps, he told me. My book shrank overnight. I was told to tighten on weekend rooms and pull back on food. Guys, I comped for years, started getting half. You think they do not notice? They notice on the first check. This is the slow bleed guests cannot see on a chart. Higher interest paid means fewer dollars for the floor. Carpets stay tired. Lamps flicker a little longer. The sports book screens skip a frame, and no one calls the vendor until next quarter. The vibe turns cold even if the lights are still bright. Corporate will call the index boot a technical move. They will say nothing changes in the day-to-day. That sounds nice on an earnings call. On the ground, it raises your cost of survival. It turns every capital choice into a coin flip. Fix the rooms or fix the roofs. Add dealers or add digital signs. Most days, the answer becomes no. Staff feel it first. Scheduling gets tight. Training gets skipped. The one bar that needs 3 people runs with 2. Guests feel it next. Lines move more slowly. Tables open later. That little surprise comp that kept a mid-tier player loyal becomes a coupon with blackout dates. The magic turns into math right in front of them. And yes, finance hits marketing. Big billboards cost money. So do headliners. You trim the media buy, then wonder why the funnel is thin. You run flash sales to spike a weekend and teach your best customers to wait for another sale. That is not a strategy. That is a loop you cannot climb out of. Here is the blunt truth. An index drop is a signal, not a sentence, but it compounds everything else. Borrowing costs go up. Flex goes down. Guests feel the chill. The palace looks the same, but it does not feel the same. Indexes do not fire you for one bad quarter. So let's look at the operating trend. Number 2, the Vegas leak. You can't comp your way out of a leak this big. The quarter told the story. Las Vegas revenue is down about 3.7%. Adjusted EBITDA is down about 8%. Roughly 27,000 room nights gone. Occupancy sliding from 99 to 97. On paper, that sounds small. On a resort that size, it hurts. That is thousands of heads not in beds and millions not flowing across the floor. Executives called out a soft summer, shorter booking windows. People are booking late or not at all. You feel that at the front desk, not just in a spreadsheet. Lines look normal, then vanish. The phones ring less. The push to upsell turns into a plea to stay. Midweek used to float on conventions. Now even weekends miss the old pop. Kayla has worked at the front desk for 6 years. We used to turn people away, she said. Now I am upgrading just to keep them. I throw in a view. I waive an early check-in fee. I am basically buying a smile so they do not cancel in the lobby. When volume leaks, pricing pride turns into price games. You cut base rates on slow nights and keep resort fees high. You package dining credits to hide the discount. You launch 72-hour sales and blast everyone on the list. It fills kills some rooms now and trains your customers to wait for the next coupon. The brand feels cheaper, even if the bill still stings. Corporate calls it shoulder softness. Guests call it not worth it. They feel the gap between price and fun. Minimums creep up. Drinks feel smaller. Service feels thinner. The pool line eats an hour. The extra fee shows up at checkout. One trip like that and a casual traveler picks a regional casino next time or stays home with a betting app. The leak also forces staffing math that no one likes. Less volume means fewer hours on the schedule. Fewer hours means slower service. Slower service pushes more guests to skip the next visit. That loop is hard to break. You can cheer about a festival weekend, but it does not fix the dead Tuesdays. On the casino side, managers shave open tables and raise limits to protect hold. Low and mid players bounce faster. Hosts juggle too many whales and too few regulars. Cocktail service slips a rotated. The room loses its buzz. You hear chips, not cheers. Marketing reacts with offers that sound generous and feel thin. 2 show tickets on a blackout night. A dining credit that does not cover an entree. Free parking with a tier that the guest lost last year. The message is loud. The value is quiet. People are tired of quiet value. Here is what this means in plain terms. Less volume forces harder trade-offs. Training budgets stall. Maintenance drifts. Smiles get forced. The floor does not forgive that. Vegas sells a feeling first. When the feeling slips, the numbers follow. Now, stack higher prices on top of less fun. Number 3, the fee trap. Pay more, get less. That's the new magic trick. 10 years ago, you could land a fair room, a cheap buffet, and a few hours on $5 tables. Today, the bill hits before you unpack. Resort fees run around $50 to $56 a night at the big Caesars brands. Early check-in costs extra. Late checkout costs extra. The room rate swings by the hour because an algorithm thinks you will cave. The price of the same weekend grew while the experience shrank. Jordan has been bartending on the Strip for 12 years. He remembers when guests laughed, tipped big, and ordered another round. Now I start every shift explaining charges I don't control, he told me. Guests argue with me about resort fees. They are mad before I pour a drink. Then they tip less. We all lose. My check is smaller and they leave annoyed. Walk a guest journey and count the friction. Search a room. The rate looks fine until fees inflated at checkout. Arrive early. Pay a fee or wait again. Sit for a drink. 20 plus tax and tip for a cocktail that used to be comped with steady play. The minimum is higher than last year. Lose faster because the rules favor the house. 2 burgers and a soda are $40. Corporations call this dynamic pricing. They say it matches demand and funds investments. On the ground, it looks like a shield for greed. Prices climb even when the vibe is flat. You see it in tiny choices. Free parking became paid parking. Then free with tier. Then free with higher tier. Comped drinks now track play to the second. Loyalty apps nudge you to buy up instead of rewarding you for showing up. Value breaks first in the mind, then in the wallet. When a traveler feels gamed, they start cutting nights or skipping the trip. They tell friends to avoid the trap. They chase a regional casino where the fees are clear and the comps land fast. The city loses the middle guest who used to come twice a year and spend across rooms, food, shows, and the floor. Staff carry the cost. A server who used to make rent on tips now watches people nurse one drink and leave. A dealer sees fewer casual players and more empty chairs between whales. The energy flips from fun to tense. You can clean the marble and turn up the LED walls. It will not change how it feels to hand over a card for yet another small charge. Here is the blunt bottom line. You cannot sell fantasy if every step feels like a surcharge. Coupons cannot patch that. A one-time sale does not fix trust. Until prices, comps, and service line up again, repeat visits die and the rooms go quiet. Tonight. And the guests who spend the most? Many never showed. Number 4, missing tourists. Lose the Canadians. Lose a whole week of spending. For years, Canadians filled spring calendars and midweek rooms. They stayed longer, booked shows, and gambled with real time, not a quick hit. This year, the company pointed straight at Canada when they explained why about 27,000 room nights vanished. International demand softened across the Strip in mid-2025. Elise has been a concierge for 9 years. We used to book shows for Canadians all day, she said. Dinner at 6, headliner at 8, limo to a lounge at 10. Now I am canceling more than I am booking. Airfare shocks them. But the second complaint is always the price here. Fees, drinks, tables. They say it adds up too fast. You can hear the echo at the front desk. Fewer international arrivals means fewer early check-ins and fewer late checkouts. The hallways feel empty on a Tuesday afternoon. Bell teams who once ran non-stop now stack carts and wait. On the gaming side, these guests were steady players across several days. They played in the morning, took a break for lunch, and then came back after dinner. They did not rush. When they disappear, the rhythm of the floor collapses into short weekend bursts. Corporate will point to currency swings and flights. Those are real. But guests point back at Vegas costs. A family from Toronto told me they skipped the trip after seeing the real total for a 3-night stay. Room rate, resort fees, paid parking, higher food prices, and a ticket package that used to feel like a deal now felt like a squeeze. They went to a regional resort north of the border instead and still had cash left for a show. Late bookings make planning harder. When people wait until the last minute, hotels cut or add staff day by day. That leads to longer lines at check-in, slower bar service, and thin pit coverage at the wrong times. A night that could have been great turned frustrating because teams are built for a crowd that never fully shows. Staff get whiplash. Guests blame the property, not the calendar. This is where the numbers hit the soul of the place. International guests bring energy that lasts past midnight without fights over a $10 drink. They explore, tip, and return with friends. They ask for the classic restaurants and want to see a real Vegas show, not just a DJ set. Lose them, and the city loses the stretch of the week that kept workers busy and paid. Cut enough of that, and the invite list shrinks. Email blasts replace personal calls. Points replace hosts. Coupons replace loyalty. It feels colder because it is colder. A palace can shine with LEDs, but you know who is not there. The long-haul travelers who used to fill the gaps are at home, watching from afar. So they tried the loud fix. Number 5, debt and desperation. When debt breathes down your neck, you start shouting discounts. The balance sheet is heavy. Interest eats cash that should refresh rooms, fix slots, and hire staff. A lower market cap means tougher refinancing. Lenders get picky. Rates creep up. Every extra point you pay the bank is a point you do not invest in the floor. Guests feel it before they see it. Carpets age. Menus shrink. Service thins. The building stays glossy, but the vibe turns tired. That is what debt does. It steals tomorrow to survive today. So the response is noise. Flash sales, email blasts, locals promos. The fabulous 5-day sale cuts rates, tosses in food credits, and turns the strip into a coupon book. Rooms fill for a weekend. Screenshots fly on group chats. It works for a moment, but every discount has a shadow. Lower rate today, lower anchor tomorrow. You do not build loyalty. Your train is delayed. People wait for the next code. Rate falls. Expectation falls with it. The habit becomes hunting deals, not booking trips. Marcus works on the revenue desk, 5 years in. He sees the dashboards and watches the pattern in real time. Every sale trains guests to wait for the next sale, he said. We fill nights, sure. Then the pipeline is empty, and we start the cycle again. It is like we move the clearance rack to the lobby. People scroll and shrug. They want a win, not a coupon. He is not angry, he is tired. The spreadsheet has become a hamster wheel. Corporations calls it demand stimulation. They pitch value. They point to a lift in occupancy. But the truth is clear on property. Discount guests spend less on the floor. Many are price sensitive by design. They do not tip the same. They cut a night if the bill stings. You flood weekends, then stare at slow Mondays. The group calendar can prop up midweek a bit with conventions and banquet spend. It does not rescue the casino drop. It does not fix the feeling at the tables when the middle player, the one who loved a 3-night stay and a few shows, stops coming. The long-term damage is the brand bleed. Guests begin to see a palace being built. Flash sales used to be rare. Now they are the plan. That tells people you are not strong. It scares workers too. Staff hear short-term push, then see hours cut the next week. Morale dips. Smiles feel forced. Service slows. Then the discount looks even more like a trick. This is how a value spiral starts. You sell a cheaper night and buy a weaker memory. Worse, those promos cover for a bigger miss. You can pack the building, but if the spend is thin and the games are quiet, the math still hurts. That is why the shouting got louder. and it masks a second mistake that cuts deeper. Worse, they are chasing the wrong guest. Number 6. Chasing the wrong customer. You cannot build a city on 3 whales and a DJ. The pivot is obvious on the floor. Colder service vibe, shorter stays, less time at bars. Whole pits are dark on slow nights to save labor. The soundtrack is still loud, but the room is not. The plan leans into high-limit rooms, bottle service, and social media moments. That works for headlines. It does not fill 1,000 standard rooms on a Tuesday. The middle kept this place alive for decades. Couples, conferences, birthday crews, and small bankroll gamblers who stayed 3 nights and felt welcome. They are walking. Priya has been dealing for 8 years. She remembers the rush. Whole pits used to beg for breaks, she said. Now I see layouts sit closed for hours. On Mondays, I open one game and watch people circle, then leave when they see the minimums. I used to know regulars by name. Now I get influencers filming a hand and disappearing. That is not play. That is content. Her paycheck swings like a pendulum. Busy weekend, dead weekday, tips that do not cover rent without overtime. Regional casinos and online apps finished the hit. Players who just want a night out no longer need a flight or a 5-hour drive. They can get clean rooms, newer slots, fair comps, and free parking near home. They can bet parlays on a couch. The casual middle does not chase the strip like it used to. When you raise table mins and layer fees on top, you push them out faster. And when they go, the buzz goes with them. A casino needs chatter, not only silence and velvet ropes. Corporate built for the black card crowd and forgot the rest of us. Suites look great. Private salons look rich. But the palace outside those doors has to feel alive, or the whole thing reads like a set. Put up a wall of LED, and you still cannot hide empty bars. The math gets ugly in small ways. Hosts with lighter books, servers with slower turns, security with more time to pace. Whole departments learn to smile while they watch hours vanish from the schedule. This is not a moral lecture. It is physics. The middle pays the bills. They fill shows, keep restaurants turning, play long enough to create noise, and come back twice a year. Treat them like an afterthought, and they will return the favor. They will try a regional weekend instead, or skip the trip because the last one felt cold and expensive. The whales will keep coming, but whales are not a plan. If one does not show, you cannot replace that pull with 10 angry guests arguing about fees. The fix is not secret. Lower mins where it counts. Make comps simple again. Kill the gotcha charges that start fights at check-in. Staff to delight, not to defend. Remind the middle they matter with real offers, not a coupon sprint. If you do not, the palace will keep echoing while the spreadsheet tries to call it a strategy. When the numbers do not add up, Vegas does what it always does. It reaches for the chessboard and starts moving pieces. Number 7, restructure season? In Vegas, collapse does not look like a crash. It looks like a quiet sale. Look at the pattern. When revenue slips and debt grows louder, the chess pieces start to move. Assets get pruned. A theater closes for renovation that never ends. A restaurant goes seasonal, then silent. A hotel tower pauses makeovers. The company sells a building, then leases it back. A joint venture appears to unlock value. Headcount freezes. CapEx drifts to next year. Group nights get pushed to hide the holes left by weaker leisure. None of this makes a headline on its own. Together, it is the slow drip of retreat. Anna works in entertainment booking. 6 years on the phones and emails. She keeps calendars alive. We are cutting show nights and praying groups stay booked, she told me. I used to pitch add-on dates. Now I am calling agents to keep the one we have. The worst part is telling the crew that a hold is gone. They plan their month on those checks. Her voice is flat. Not dramatic, just tired. The corporation will call this portfolio optimization. They will say asset light. They will say partnership. They will say capital efficiency. What they will not say is survival, one press release at a time. Each move buys a little cash and sells a little control. You can run that play for a while. The bill shows up later in the form of rent you did not pay before and venues you no longer attend. On the floor, guests feel the drift in small ways. A lounge that used to host bands 5 nights a week now books 2. The mid-tier steakhouse stops serving lunch. The spa trims hours. The gift shop rotates to cheaper stock. You can sense when a property is saving pennies in the public spaces. The marble stays shiny. The soul thins out. Why it matters is not abstract. This is how a palace looks strong and still loses ground. You keep the lights bright for photos while the math cracks behind the curtain. Workers lose shifts first. Vendors lose orders next. Fans lose rituals. Guests vote with their feet. The moat was never only fountains and statues. It was habit and trust. When those go, your market share goes with them. There is still a path, but it is not mergers and marketing. It is rebuilding value for the middle guest now. Lower some minutes. Kill junk fees that start fights. Make comps simple again. Staff to delight instead of defend. If you can do that, the rest can follow. If you do not, no amount of shuffling assets will save the drop. Watch the tells. Guidance that drifts. Projects that slip. Units temporarily dark. More meetings about rate and fewer about fun. That is restructuring season in plain sight. If they do not rebuild value for the middle, the palace stays pretty and empty. Here is the cold recap. Caesars got kicked out of the big index. Las Vegas revenue slipped about 3.7%. Roughly 27,000 room nights vanished. Citywide visitors in June were down around 11%. That is not a bad week. That is a trend. The company is throwing promos, local deals, and a louder group calendar at the whole. Maybe late 2025 into 2026 steadies if conventions hold and the world cools off. But none of that matters if guests feel fleeced. Value has to feel real again. Prices that make sense. Fees that do not start a fight. Minutes that let normal players sit. Drinks that are not shy. Service that smiles without a script. If that shows up, people forgive a lot. If it does not, they do not return. This is the warning buried under the marble. You can polish the halls and light the fountains and still lose the floor. Vegas does not collapse in one loud moment. It fades when the middle class decides the trip is not worth it, when they skip the second night, when they try a regional casino instead, when they gamble on their phone. The palace stays bright for photos while the tables go quiet. I want to hear what you are seeing. Tell me your last Caesars bill, your best comp from back then. What felt colder this year? Did you get charged for early check-in? Did your drink shrink? Did a pit sit dark on a Friday? Drop it in the comments. I read them. If you want more unfiltered Vegas, hit subscribe. I am going to keep pulling receipts, talking to workers, and telling you what is really happening behind the neon. Share this with a friend who still thinks Vegas never changes.